Today is Tuesday, April 11th, 2017, and I know I've been gone for a little while. Shout out to all my subscribers for checking in on me. I was out of town. I was at University of Texas at El Paso giving my speech. Had a great time. Shout out to all of y'all. I appreciate the college publicans out there for bringing me out. And we'll talk about Syria in a different video, but right now we got to talk about the man that was dragged off of the flight in Chicago O'Hare who was going to Louisville, Kentucky. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll play some video on the screen before you. And I'll kind of talk over it because I don't want to get copyright strike by some random podunk place trying to claim the video. But basically what's going on here is that this Vietnamese man named Dr. David Dow was being dragged off of the flight because he was randomly selected to get off, but he refused. Basically, they overbooked the flight. They were offering people like $400, $800. Now, I'm not quite sure if the money that they were offering the people was cash or if it was credit. Because when I was flying to Texas over the weekend, we had the same thing happen to us because, you know, we had a lot of problems with the weather up north affecting all flights. Remember that when it was like this big weather episode and like 3,000 flights got canceled? That messed up the whole schedule for a lot of airlines. So pilots are showing up late or didn't show up at all. A flight crew was showing up late or didn't show up at all. It was just a whole big crazy mess. My flight got delayed by like 4 hours. And before the flight that got delayed, in my first flight from Virginia to Atlanta, they were offering people like $400, $800 in credit, not cash. Credit towards a future flight, not credit towards a new plane to get on because you already paid for the plane. They would transfer you to a new plane free of charge because you already paid for your ticket, but they were going to offer you credit on top of that for a future flight if you wanted to do that. And they were also offering you a hotel night or two, however long it took for you to get to your next flight. Since nobody volunteered, they randomly selected a name from a computer generated list. Now, the doctor was like, hey, you know, I got patients, I can't go, this, that, and the third. So I guess they weren't really trying to hear that. So then it got to the point where he was drugged out of his seat by, I suppose, the local police in Chicago and or the airport security. And then that's when things went left. Now, you see the video where he has his face bloodied up, talking about, please kill me, please kill me.
Just kill me. Just kill me. Kill me. Just kill me. And I go on, kill me.
See, his face got bloodied up because when they were getting him out of the seat during the struggle, he fell. Now, I know a lot of you have seen these people talk about it and saying it's like when a husband beats his wife and they say, oh, she fell and made her own eye black. But I think that is what happened here. I don't think the officer intentionally slammed his head up against the armrest. I think just during the struggle, he was just resisting and then he fell as a result of the struggle. I think that's what happened. That's why you have all this blood on his face coming from his mouth. It looks really bad. And it's definitely a PR nightmare for United because, I mean, it's all over social media, all over, you know, the news. And the guy wound up being a doctor. He's like 69 years old. It's a whole big crazy mess. Now, who's at fault? I don't really know. I think if anybody's at fault, it's the airline for not doing this whole thing properly. When they were asking us if we wanted to, you know, volunteer to not go on the flight in exchange for credit, at that point, we were just at the gate. We had not boarded the plane yet. So they were trying to do all that before we got on the plane. Before anybody boarded, they were trying to sort all of that stuff out. In this case, he was already scanned. He was already boarded. You know, he probably had his bags in the overhead. He probably had check bags or whatever. He probably was ready to rock on the plane, which is different than being asked to not get on the plane or having your flight canceled before you get on. It's much different. So that should have been handled before you got on the plane, in my opinion. Now, I'm not quite sure how that policy goes. There's been a statement that's been released by the CEO, and I think they said that the policy was not followed either by United itself or by the person that removed him, which may or may not have been actually United. It may have been the police officer. So I'm thinking they're saying that their whole process to remove him was not followed to the T. But at the same time, the CEO did send a private letter to his employees saying that the guy was belligerent, he was out of control, and they did the best thing they could for the entire airline going forward, or for that particular flight going forward. So that's kind of a mixed message, but I digress. My whole point here is that this whole thing here was not handled correctly, and I think even United itself understands that point. But we got to talk about Dr. David Dow. Now, yes, he is a doctor. That's been confirmed. I think he's 68 or 69 years old. He has a wife, he has children, and also grandchildren. I think all of his children are either in school, just graduated, or are practicing doctors, right? So you have a medical family going on here. Now, according to TMZ, which you could take it for a grain of salt at this point, because sometimes TMZ is right and sometimes they're wrong. But I'm going to just say according to TMZ, but I don't know if this story is true or if it's false. But they say that he had been convicted back in 2005 or right around then on a bunch of drug charges, felony drug charges, because he was illegally prescribing people Oxycontin, oxycodone, and Percocet. And I'll link to that article in the box below. He did not go to jail. He got 5 years probation, according to TMZ. And in 2005, he had to relinquish his medical license in Kentucky, but it was reinstated in 2015. And then part of that reinstatement was to say that he could only practice medicine 1 day a week. So that is a story from TMZ. Again, I'm not sure if that's true or false, but I think it's not really related to what's going on here, because if you are illegally prescribing drugs, that's nothing to do with, behaving erratically on the plane, unless you're on the drugs yourself, which I don't think that's what's going on. I think he just was desperate to get back to Louisville to be able to continue to practice medicine. It probably was his 1 day to practice. He probably had patients lined up and he's like, yo, I got to go home. Dr. David Dow was also a poker player, allegedly, according to TMZ. And I placed the article on the screen before you and also in the box below. And you can see how much money he made, which is crazy. But I guess he took that money he made that he was not able to do anything else with and just decided to play poker, which is kind of random, but I digress. Some of the memes that have come from this are pretty funny, actually. I left some of the memes because at the end of the day, the man was okay. He didn't really get beat up. He just unfortunately had a situation where he slipped during the struggle and his mouth was bloody. So it's not anything really, really serious, but it's just a big PR nightmare. From the video that's been shown all over social media to his mouth being bloody, talking about kill me, looking disoriented. And by the way, in the video where you see his mouth bloody and he's standing up talking about kill me, somehow, some way he was able to get back on the plane after being detained the first time. Because remember, you saw the video where he was being dragged out and his glasses looking all crazy. At that point, he was being removed, but he was eventually able to come back on the plane. Somehow he broke free. I don't know. He must have regained his consciousness because it looked like he was knocked out when he hit his head on the armrest. Somehow, some way he was able to regain consciousness, break free, and get back on the plane and, try to like hold on to the back and say, yo, I got to go home. So I don't know how that happened, but that is kind of what's going on. And like I said, the memes are crazy. You got a lot of stuff from previous movies where people getting beat up. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's not, because it was very disturbing to see him on the ground like that. And I think just because of the PR nightmare that United will get sued and they will eventually break off Dr. David Dow some money, probably to the tune of $1 million or more. Not necessarily because any rules are violated, because I'm not quite sure that's happened. I think that you are able to be removed from a plane after you pay, if they have to, for any reason or for particular reasons. If you're being belligerent, not for any reason that the airline has caused themselves, or if you have been bumped from the flight for whatever reason, your ticket's been revoked or whatever, I think they're able to remove you. But just the big PR mess this has caused may cause them to settle out of court to prevent any kind of further action to dig into their company's bottom line. So shout out to the doctor. Hopefully you get your mouth and everything fixed. Hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully you won't get in any more trouble if what TMZ said is true. Hopefully your patients and everybody is good. To United, it sucks to be you. I think you kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Your procedure for your flights and the overbooking needs to be tightened up, in my humble opinion. Before anybody boards a plane, you need to make sure it's not overbooked. You need to make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be before you get on a plane, to prevent anybody from having to get beat up and dragged off the plane. So that's pretty much all I got to say. What do you think? Do you think that the TMZ story is true about him being a former dope boy as a medical doctor? Do you think that the treatment of him on the plane was related to the whole alleged drug thing? Do you think that this situation could have been avoided if they were to check everybody just to make sure everything was good before they boarded the plane? Do you think that he deserved what he got because he was being belligerent, he was screaming this, that, and the third? Or do you think that this whole thing has been overblown? It's not really a big deal. you know, it just got kind of caught fire on social media and got a lot of attention, but it's not really that big of a deal. Have you seen that happen before where somebody was removed from the plane just for being overbooked? Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.